A broke Greek gambler walked into a Las Vegas casino with his last $50. Through luck and sharp calculation, he turned that into $40 million in 2.5 years. Then he lost every bit of it in 3 weeks and died broke. That's Archie Karras, the legend of Las Vegas gambling. The story starts with a game nobody thought twice about. At the time, he was buried in debt he couldn't pay off. Out of options, he found a friend at Binion's and borrowed $10,000. This wasn't an investment, it was a favor, plain and simple. He had zero track record in the high-stakes scene, so if he lost, he'd have nothing to pay it back with. Instead of jumping straight into a game with top players, he sat down for 7-card Raz Poker, a lowball variant. It wasn't a popular game at the time, nowhere near as big as the Texas Hold'em that would later make him famous. In a single session, he turned that $10,000 into $30,000. He paid the loan back with interest that same day. Most people who tell this story skip the most important part. Karras wasn't just gambling with chips at that table. He was gambling with a friend's trust, an unsecured loan with nothing backing it. If that one hand had gone the other way, there would be no Archie Karras with a $40 million fortune. There'd just be another broke guy who owed a friend $10,000 he couldn't pay. One more gambler who quietly vanished from Vegas like thousands do every year. That near miss is the part of this legend most people forget, and it's exactly why everything that came after was even possible. After that, he kept grinding it out at pool halls and low-stakes games, slowly building his bankroll. Games that small never caught the attention of casino floor staff. The money wasn't big enough to raise flags. Nobody recorded exactly how long that stretch lasted, but the outcome is clear. The guy who tripled a borrowed stake in one sitting built up serious money in a short time, and along with it, the nerve to sit down against the best heads-up poker players in the world. These were players who'd spent decades building legendary reputations. Karras set out to take down a string of them in just a few months. Binion's Horseshoe was the proving ground of high-stakes poker back then. Stu Ungar, Doyle Brunson, Chip Reese. These weren't manufactured names. Every one of them had beaten the best players on earth in real games. Johnny Chan, a 2-time World Series of Poker main event champion, was on that list too. Karras took them on one by one in heads-up matches, and the record is well documented. He beat Ungar, Brunson, and Reese. The match against Johnny Chan is the one nobody agrees on. Some accounts say Karras won. Others say Chan was one of the few to beat him during that streak, taking hundreds of thousands off him. Neither version has ever been confirmed. When these matches started, nobody in the room took the unknown Karras seriously. He had no reputation and no known style for anyone to study. Ungar and the others played it like any other match, expecting an easy win based on years of experience. That's what makes this so strange. Every bit of that experience and every prediction turned out to be wrong. Karras ran through the best players in the game. When he walked out of the poker room to try other games, nothing stopped him. Not the players, not the house rules. Poker had built him a massive bankroll, but the dice games that came next would really test how much pressure that money could take. Dice games leave no room for skill. Lose a few times in a row, and there's no cushion left. In poker, you can read your opponent, play mind games, build an edge with patience. Dice are pure probability. No opponent to read, no cards to study. Industry experts agree that outside of managing your bets and your bankroll, there's no real skill that guarantees a win at dice. Karras played anyway, and his money grew faster than it ever had at poker or pool. His single largest bet on one roll of the dice hit $3 million, more than most gamblers wager in their entire lives. Casino floor managers who'd seen every kind of high roller had never witnessed betting like this. This wasn't recreational gambling anymore. It was closer to stress testing a casino's cash reserves. Round after round, hour after hour, without a break. And there's a question that's never been answered. With poker, people could at least stretch to credit his wins to strategy. With dice, there's no strategy. It's pure probability, and probability doesn't stay on one player's side forever. But his money kept climbing anyway. At some point, the winnings got so large that hot streaks stopped being a believable explanation. That surge eventually hit a turning point, and it changed the rest of Karras's life. 2.5 years after walking into Vegas with $50, Archie Karras's net worth had climbed to $40 million. From flipping his stake in one Raz poker session, to crushing 3 legendary players heads up, to 6-figure dice bets stacking up fast. The same man who once didn't have enough for a hand of low-stakes blackjack. Now the Greek was a name known all over Vegas, not just at one casino. At Binion's and across the entire high-stakes world, people watched a total unknown build a bankroll bigger than most dealers and players had after a lifetime in the business. Word spread to casinos across the country. Some even used his story to warn their own high rollers. The house's golden rule is simple: given enough time, the house always wins. For 2.5 years, that rule didn't apply to Karas. Then, right after reaching the top, everything turned. The fall came fast, faster than anyone expected, including Karas himself. The most common version of the story says he lost $40 million in 3 weeks. Part of that's true. He lost $11 million at the dice table first. The same probability swings that had made him rich turned against him just as hard. Betting just as big, he lost money just as fast as he'd made it. Then he moved to blackjack, a game where the house edge is already low and there's little room for an edge. He lost another $17 million there. $28 million gone in 3 weeks. He lost it as fast as he'd won it. Most versions of the story stop right there, wrapped up as a tidy cautionary tale about $40 million going to zero. But that's not what actually happened. After those 3 weeks, he still had $10 to $12 million left. That detail rarely makes it into the popular versions, and it completely changes how the story actually ends. He stopped gambling for a while and flew back to Greece to regroup. That pause is almost always left out of the story people tell. If you think you already know how this ends, the real collapse hasn't happened yet. Karas came back from Greece to Vegas and sat right back down at the same tables, betting just as big. His remaining $10+ million shrank down to just $1 million. With that last million, he finally settled the score the story had left hanging. He went after Johnny Chan, the one match nobody could agree on, for a high-stakes heads-up showdown. This match had backers putting up money for him. Karas doubled his stake at one point. Then within days, he lost it all again at dice and baccarat. So here's what actually happened with his money. Not the popular version where $40 million vanishes in 3 weeks. First, 3 weeks wiped out $28 million. He still had millions left, took a break, then came back and slowly lost the rest. Johnny Chan, unresolved from earlier in the story, shows up again at the very end to finish it off. To this day, nobody has a clear answer for why he kept betting big as the losses kept piling up. No one knows if he was convinced the odds would swing back his way, or if he was simply too deep in to stop. What's certain is this: the fortune he built over 2.5 years collapsed in 2 stages, with one short pause in between, until there was nothing left. There's another piece of the story that makes everything murkier. He was arrested 4 separate times, every time for allegedly marking playing cards to cheat. 1988 at the Flamingo in Reno, 1992 at the River Palms in Laughlin, 1996 at the California Club in Vegas, 2007 at the Aquarius in Laughlin. The 1988 arrest happened before he walked into Vegas with $50. The 1992 arrest came the same year his legendary streak began. The last 2 came after his peak years were already over. That cast doubt on his wins against Ungar, Brunson, and the others. People assumed it was pure skill or incredible luck. But with cheating allegations both before and after his peak, that assumption doesn't hold up as well anymore. None of the 4 arrests proves he cheated during his peak matches against the legends. They only prove he was suspected of cheating multiple times over his career. There's no way to say for certain whether the Binion streak was clean. There's no court ruling and no confession from Karas himself to settle it. Whether his peak performances came from real skill, hidden cheating, or luck remains an open question. But the story does have one final, settled chapter. On the 17th of September 2015, the Nevada Gaming Control Board put Archie Karas on the state's exclusion list. That meant he was permanently banned from every licensed casino in the state, the harshest penalty the regulator can hand down. The ban came after surveillance footage from a 2013 California casino showed him secretly marking cards during a blackjack game. That official ban confirmed what decades of cheating accusations had suggested all along. In his final years, he lived in poverty, occasionally playing in small private games for tiny stakes. In 2025, Archie Karas died at 73.